everyone, we're going to determine if statement 1 and true lead to statement 3 by law of detachment, law of syllogism, or if it's invalid. So here's our statements. If angles have the same measure, then they are congruent. So that's like if P, then Q. All right. If angles A and B equal each other, so that means P is true. That means angle A is congruent to angle B, and Q is true. So that's called law of detachment. The conclusion is true. The next one, using the law of syllogism, what is the correct conclusion that can be drawn from the following statements? If Miranda plays the clarinet, so we'll call that P, then she plays a woodwind instrument, so that would be then Q. If she plays a woodwind instrument, that's Q, then she's a musician, that would be R. So this is like if P, then Q, and then we have Q, then R. So the conclusion of the first conditional statement is the hypothesis of the second. So this is the law of syllogism, and the way we would write this is if Miranda, I'll just put M, plays the clarinet, then we're going to do R. Then she is a musician. I don't know how to spell, but okay, so that's what a law of syllogism is. All right, now we're going to go into inductive and deductive reasoning. For the past month at school on Wednesday, they have been serving pizza. They are serving pizza today, so it must be Wednesday. So this one's a little tricky because of the way this is worded. For the facts are, for the past month at school, they've been serving pizza. So that's the facts. But you could also say it's observations. They are serving pizza today, so it must be Wednesday. We can say that our conclusion is more specific than the information that the premises provide. So we have that. And if the premises are true, the conclusions must be true. But also if the premises are true, the conclusion is probably true. But this says must and also says today. So we're going to call this deductive reasoning. And you put reasoning. Okay. The next one. We're going to determine if this is law of detachment, law of syllogism, or neither, or invalid. If a polygon is regular, then the interior angles are congruent. If a polygon is regular, so that's the same P, then all its sides are congruent, so that's something different. So we'll call this P and R. The polygon is regular. So that's not law of syllogism, because the law of syllogism would be something like this, but it should be if P then Q then R, then P, if P then R. And our conclusion of the first statement is not the hypothesis of the second. It's not law of detachment either, because the second statement doesn't match up to the first one. So basically this one is invalid. And then we have some examples here. We have this scatter plot and some more definitions of deductive versus inductive reasoning. It says the northern elephant seal requires more strokes to surface the deeper it dives. So it's more strokes the deeper it dives up here. So that's deductive reasoning. We're just looking at the facts. The northern elephant seal uses more strokes to surface from 250 meters than 60 meters. So yes, it does, because based off of this, it's more specific, but you're still looking at the facts here. Because you have 250, it goes 250, where's that? Right here at 250 meters. Uses more strokes to surface from 250 meters. It's here. Then it does 60. So 60 is down here somewhere. So there's your strokes there and your strokes there. So that would be deductive. All right. And then we're going to use inductive reasoning down here to come to a conjecture about future things. So let's move on to this. Number 3 states 2 points on the line of best fit are these points. So we'll call this point 1 and point 2. Write an equation of the best fit line. We can see that it's going through the origin, so we're not going to have to worry about our y-intercept. So we're just going to use our slope formula. And so y sub 2 is 800 minus 640 divided by 500 minus 400. So this is going to be 100 at the bottom. And this is going to be 160 here. The zeros cancel. And you get 16 divided by 10. And reduce that. That's going to divide those both by 2, the numerator and the denominator by 2. So that is your slope. So the way you're going to write it is 8 divided by 5. Let's write this a little better. 8 divided by 5x. And then our y-intercept is 0. Now it says, using inductive reasoning at a depth of 900 meters, what will the number of strokes, remember that's your y and this is your x, be in order for the northern elephant seal to reach the surface? So what we're going to do is just plug in our 900 as our at the depth. So that's your x, and plug it in. So you have y equals 8 fifths x, and x is 900. 5 goes into 9 for one time. And we have 4 left over. So that would be 190. Let's see, let me make sure. And so this is really 180. And then you times this by 8, and you get 1440. So that would be 1440 strokes for the whole number. And finally, I have some more information about deductive versus inductive. Deductive, you start with the theory, you confirm it, and this is what the person would do with deductive. And inductive, you start with the data, infer conclusions from the data. So, and here's another little observation. Use inductive like we did with our patterns with numbers Scientists use induction, and deductive would be like detectives would use deductives. They gather information, find a pattern, come up with a tentative hypothesis, and do that. And scientists have a theory and they test it and they observe and then they confirm it. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.